Okay, so picture this. Netflix just spent millions of dollars flying singles to Denver, building elaborate wedding venues, and filming what they thought would be another season of fairy tale endings. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. 0 marriages. Not one single I do. Love is Blind Season 9 just made history as the first season where every single couple crashed and burned. What I'm about to tell you involves secret post-show relationships that nobody was supposed to know about, a contestant who allegedly scammed workers out of thousands while playing the successful businessman on TV, homophobic comments that sparked a social media firestorm, and a mystery baby that has the entire fandom losing their minds right now. The reunion hasn't even aired yet. What you're about to hear? This is just what we know so far. By the time we're done here, you'll understand why fans are calling this the absolute worst season in Love is Blind history. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, smash that subscribe button if you love messy reality TV breakdowns, hit the like button because it genuinely helps us grow, and definitely hit that new hype button. It's YouTube's latest way to support creators, and it helps our channel reach more tea lovers like you. Trust me, you'll want to be subscribed for what's coming, because when that reunion airs on October 29th, we're covering every single revelation. So let's start with the numbers, because they're genuinely shocking. Out of the couples who got engaged in those pods, only 2 made it to the altar. 2, Ali Lima and Anton Yarosh stood there in their wedding attire, and Ali said no.
I can't be your wife.
Ouch! That's gonna hurt!
Calibria Haskin and Edmund Harvey made it to their ceremony, and Calibria also said no. Jordan Keltner and Megan Walerius called off their engagement before even getting to the altar. And the rest? Patrick and Kacie, Joe and Madison, Nick and Annie, they all imploded before the finale even happened. 100% failure rate.
You're a huge embarrassing failure.
And look, I get it. Not every season can be a fairy tale, but 0 marriages? In a show literally called Love is Blind? That's not just a bad season, that's a complete systematic failure. Fans immediately started calling this the worst season ever, and honestly, I can't even argue with that. One viewer commented, "Nobody got married this season." The franchise has become a joke. Denver is one of the most liberal cities in America, right? Progressive, open-minded, diverse. So how did producers manage to cast what multiple sources are calling the most conservative bunch in the show's history?
So Megan follows not only Tucker Carlson, she follows RFK Jr., Ali, she follows Candace Owen, Anton follows so many people that are insane to me, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene being 2 of them. It's seeming like the entire cast, except for Blake, who left probably because he ran when he realized that he was in a pool of conservatives. Even apparently Patrick and Anna lean right, even though Patrick, I think, cleaned up his following list. But somebody had commented saying that he had followed a bunch of conservative accounts before, and now he does not.
The drama we saw on screen was just the appetizer. The main course? That's what I'm about to serve you. If you watched episode 4, you probably remember the conversation that had social media absolutely losing it. Nick Amato and his fiancée, Annie Lancaster, were discussing potential future children. And Nick asked if kids identifying as LGBTQ+ at a young age was, and I quote, a fad. He literally said, "When kids start having those thoughts too young, and maybe I am old-fashioned, but it's like a concern for me because who's telling you that?" Annie agreed with him, saying she wouldn't be thrilled if her child came out as LGBTQ+. Let that sink in for a second. We're in 2025, and people are still on national television, treating queer identity like it's some trendy phase kids are going through. The backlash was immediate and intense. Viewers flooded social media with criticism.
Nick, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, but your mama was right. She clocked you a long time ago. You saw it, she named it, she was ready. You're the one still fighting it. So in response to this comment, if he's gay, how can he be homophobic? And this is important, so I hope that you listen. But being gay does not automatically free you from being homophobic. In fact, sometimes it makes it worse. So it's called internalized homophobia, and it's when you absorb all of these hateful messages and words that society throws at you. So things like being gay is wrong, or you'll never be accepted. So sometimes instead of unlearning that, you carry it, and oftentimes you even project it. So by denying who you are, by being defensive or tearing other queer people down, just to distance yourself from them. It's like someone who is deathly afraid of holding the hand of someone they love out in public because they're afraid someone will see them. So instead, they make fun of other people or other couples who do that. Or when people insist that they're not like others while secretly struggling with it. These are just some things that internalized homophobia can look like. So if Nick really is struggling with his identity, it makes sense that he comes across as very dismissive and defensive and even somewhat hostile towards the LGBTQ community. So Nick, maybe it's not everyone else you're trying to convince, maybe it's you.
So Nick posted an Instagram video on October 3rd, claiming the conversation was very heavily sliced and diced by producers.
Something I want to address that's been deeply impacting me over the last couple days has been the gay kids and gay love conversation that happened during episode 4. And the studios reached out and said, look, tell people that it was cut up and it's meant to agitate, right? Yes, it was, and that conversation was very heavily sliced and diced, but call me shallow and call me horny and that I have no depth of character, I can take that. It's reality TV, it's fair game. But don't put something together that's going to agitate an already marginalized group of people. But I'm taking accountability for that too, because there's a lot that I didn't understand. And that's when Annie and I were talking about what is a fad, that was over introducing sexual content and material to kids shows at a young age, or the idea of gay identity. But the way I grew up and the culture I was raised in was that you have experiences and you make decisions based on those experiences, and we all love you regardless for that. But if I had a kid that only grew up seeing a prince and a princess get married, never was introduced to the idea of two moms or two dads, then yes, I bet they would have to defend themselves and feel really awkward for having gay thoughts if they were gay. Now, I would love my kids regardless, but you look at my example of how in high school, when my mom comforted me over a bad day I was having, she wanted to talk about, Nick, are you gay? And I laughed it off and I said, whoa, no, there's no way.
Okay, sure.
But why would I have had to defend myself for that? It doesn't make any sense. Because being gay is perfectly normal, but I wasn't normalized to that, right? So there's an entirely different conversation there, and go very in depth about this, but there's so much hate in this world that if I can't use this platform to help introduce other people that used to think like I did to some of these new ideas, and I'm so grateful for some of my gay friends for reaching out and being like, Nick, we know that's not you, but this is what you have to understand. If I can't use that platform for good, then it's a platform wasted. So I really appreciate you guys for giving me all the hell that you did and letting me know that, look, that's not right. Because yes, it was cut up and edited, but I need to take accountability too.
But what's coming next about another contestant makes this look like a minor scandal. Before season 9 even premiered, this TikTok investigator named it Storytime with Ricky, I dropped an expose that had everyone's jaws on the floor. She revealed that Mike Brockway, the 38-year-old real estate investor, who positioned himself as this successful businessman on the show, allegedly owes thousands of dollars to ex-employees and service providers he used for his Airbnb properties and businesses.
First up is Mike, the one who's currently connecting with Sparkle Megan, and said he has a friend that comes and sits in his hot tub, but they're just platonic. One that's part of a wealth club. Yeah, that guy. He owes a bunch of people money around the Denver area. Employees, small businesses, service providers. Maybe that's how he attains all his wealth, is by not paying the people that actually work for him. Let me tell you what I know, and let me show you the receipts. For those of you who don't know, this all started when the cast list was revealed. People in Denver saw that Mike was on that list. They started swarming Netflix's comments with allegations of non-payment. As you can see here, boom, each boom. Here's another one. Where there's smoke, there's fire. One person saying something, you're like, eh. But when multiple 10 plus people are saying something, you gotta look into it. So I started looking into the story. This is just one of like 10. As you can see here, I've got the tea on Mike. I started cleaning for him with a cleaning crew a few years ago. Last summer, I was tired of cleaning, so I started doing more maintenance stuff.
Clean the pool, did the backyard stuff, pool house, took care of all the hot tubs, weeds, house maintenance, etc. I treated me along with 2 other girls that worked for us so terribly. I have screenshots to share if you'd like them, which she did in fact share, and he did talk to his employees.
Crazy. He talked so down to us. I finally quit in December. He was mad I quit, so he didn't pay me for November through December. He owes me almost $3,000. I've reached out, called, text, emailed. He ghosted me, blocked me from his Instagram. Here are the texts between her and Mike where she's clearly reminding him to pay her. Never did. She even went as far as filing a complaint against him with the CDLE. And that's just one story. There's another cleaning business. What's hotter than scamming small businesses and moms? You owe us thousands of dollars since you've ignored all my messages and my lawyer. Maybe the Love is Blind Instagram page is your preferred method of communication. I have the letter from the lawyer, literally hiring these small businesses, having them do services for him, and then not paying them. As you can see here, we represent name of company. He owes them $1,500. If you are part of a wealth club, if you have so much money, sir, why are you not paying your employees and service providers? It's a pattern at this point. Literally so many receipts and so many people just saying that this guy is not paying that. Let me guess, they're all just wanting 5 minutes of fame, right? How about if you have so much wealth, you pay your fucking employees, pay your service providers, pay the people that are keeping your Airbnbs running. Running around on Love is Blind trying to act like you're this successful businessman, pay your employees. And you guys, one of his exes told me that after they broke up, he created a fake text now number and pretended to be an employer and set up a job interview way in New York. She flew to New York thinking she was going on a job interview, and when she showed up, it was Mike. Allegedly. What in the Law and Order?
What does it say about Netflix's vetting process that they put someone on TV who had all of these red flags? Mike posted something on Instagram on October 7th, but he hasn't directly addressed the specific allegations about unpaid debts. Usually when someone's falsely accused of something this serious, they come out swinging with evidence to clear their name. The silence is pretty telling. Mike presented himself as this successful real estate mogul, living the dream, building an empire. And allegedly, that empire was built on the backs of workers he didn't pay. This ties into something so much bigger than just reality TV drama. It's about how we valorize wealth in this country without asking where that wealth came from or who got exploited along the way. All right, buckle up, because the post-show relationship drama is genuinely convoluted. Let me break down who dated whom and when, because it's a mess. Joe Ferrucci's current girlfriend, Avery Madison. Yes, confusingly, her last name is Madison. Confirmed on the Reality Receipts podcast that Joe and Kacie McIntosh briefly dated after the show wrapped.
We now have confirmation that Joe and Kacie dated after Love is Blind finished filming. And on top of that, Kacie was still allegedly pining after Joe once Joe started dating his new girlfriend. This is crazy. Here is everything that we know so far. So there have been a ton of rumors circulating online that Joe and Kacie started dating after Joe broke up with Madison. And not only did Joe's new girlfriend, influencer Avery Madison, just confirm those rumors, but she also spoke about how Kacie acted once she started dating Joe. Avery went on the Reality Receipts podcast, and you guys need to hear what she said.
When Joe and I started talking, I think it was our first date, we were at a bar and he was just like, ran into this girl and he's like, oh, you know, I've gone on a couple dates with that girl. And I was like, who? And I like look over and of course it's Kacie.
The problem? Kacie had told Patrick she wanted to keep dating him after she broke off their engagement.
He's great. He's so great.
Kacie broke things off with Patrick immediately after their first in-person reveal. Patrick thought she meant she couldn't continue the vacation portion, not their entire relationship. Kacie later told producers without Patrick hearing, I just unfortunately don't think my attraction to him is going to grow that much. Brutal. But then, 2 months after the show, Joe and Kacie went on a couple of dates. Madison Maidenberg, Joe's ex-fiancée from the show, revealed on the Love to See It podcast that the night before Joe broke up with her, they ran into Kacie at an event.
So the night of tux fitting, we went out to a bar in Denver, like a few of us. It was like me, maybe one other couple, or two other couples, and then a whole bunch of singles showed up. I was like, how do they even know we're here? I'm standing there telling his two guys that were at tux fittings that I love him, I'm excited about this. You know, I just had an amazing time at dress fittings, like telling them that I want to marry this guy. He's standing right there. They know full well what just happened at tux fittings. No one is telling me.
Oh my God.
And then I look over and Kacie has two hands on Joe's chest talking to him like this.
She said that is why we see in their breakup scene her saying, are you interested in someone else? She was alluding to if he was interested in Kacie because that had just happened. She says that same night, she sat him down and said, where are we? Like, how are you feeling? Like, I'm all in. I'm ready to take this leap. Where's your head at? And that's basically when he told her, it's not you. I'm going to say no at the altar. Basically, in so many words, she said that they had broken up off camera and then refilmed the scene, the breakup scene on camera. She threw production right on under the bus. She said that production came back the next morning after they had already had the breakup the night before, filmed in the morning, and then came back at night and filmed the rest of the breakup scene, which makes me side-eye everything, to be honest. Because she's a hell of an actress. If you already knew y'all broke up, if you already had a breakup conversation, and then you were able to put on that amazing act once cameras picked up, like, because you would have thought that was the first time she was hearing the information the way she was boohooing. She had known the night before that they were broken up and he was going to say no. He had said everything to her then. So that's really bizarre that she exposed this.
Avery claims Kacie was texting Joe every couple weekends and making moves on him at parties even after she knew Joe had a girlfriend.
They did go on a couple dates, whatever, you know. I guess all I'll say is like Joe getting a girlfriend did not stop her from continuously trying. I don't know. Like there was like no overlap. There was none of that. But it was just one of those where like she just wanted to know, I think, that she could have him or like get him still. So he starts dating me and, you know, it'll be like every couple weekends. I don't know if she's drunk. I don't know if she's out, like whatever. She'll call or text and be like, what are you doing? Like whatever, all while trying to be friends with me. And then she's still trying to hook up with my man while she knows he's my man. I'm not kidding you guys. I leave this pool party and come to find out, like the second she's like in the bathroom with me, like I really like think you're great. I think you're beautiful. You're awesome. I love you and Joe together. I leave the pool party and Joe's in like talking to some of his friends, and all of a sudden I get a phone call. Hey, Casey's trying to crawl on Joe's lap right now in the other room. And I was like, girl, I was in this house 5 minutes ago and I leave and you're trying to get on top of Joe. What is that? So yeah, she's not my person.
Oh boy.
She can be the best girl in the world. She's not my girl.
No. Oh, hell no.
The audacity is genuinely breathtaking. Here's what nobody's really talking about in all of this. Patrick. Poor Patrick was genuinely torn between Kacie and Anna Yuan in the pods. He and Anna had this deep connection, bonding over their shared experiences as Asian Americans. They called themselves Spider-Man meme twins because they related to each other so intensely. But Anna abruptly left the experiment without saying goodbye. After Anna left, Patrick proposed to Kacie. And Patrick later admitted he would have definitely proposed to Anna instead if she hadn't left. So Kacie was his second choice, which she probably picked up on, and then she immediately ended things after meeting him in person. Patrick told producers at the episode 9 reunion that he and Kacie have not seen each other since leaving the experiment. Patrick spoke vulnerably about dating as an Asian man in predominantly white Denver, and his insecurities about his ethnicity. There's this whole layer about representation and how race impacts relationship dynamics that the show barely scratched the surface on. At the very end of the finale, host Nick Lachey asks Megan Wallerius if she still doesn't feel cut out to be a mother, which was what she told Jordan when she ended their engagement. Just a casual little question, right?
Megan, do you still feel like you're not cut out to be a mother?
Today I actually have a little bit of a surprise.
But plot twist, not with their Love is Blind partner. Everyone thinks it's Megan.
Now you're gonna tell me after all that Sparkle Megan has a baby. What? I saw the rumors. I normally don't like to get into those weeds. I like things to be confirmed, but it seems like they're already confirming it. They just released the reunion trailer and she says, I actually have a little bit of a surprise. It's a baby. We all knew that they weren't gonna make it to the wedding episode because there was no footage of them at their wedding. I still was sad and upset. I wanted them to get married. I had all the anger reactions at first with Megan, right? Like, why did you pick him in the first place? You knew he was a single dad. You wanted opposites attract. You wanted to go with something different, to then break up with him because you wanted to go back to the same. Well, look, sometimes you don't know until you try, until you put yourself in the situation and then you come out and you know. I think they're both gonna be okay. I think Jordan is gonna make a woman very happy someday. And I'm waiting to hear about the baby, okay? Just when you think Love is Blind can't get any crazier.
The U.S. Sun obtained photos from October 19th and 20th, 2025, literally just days ago, showing a man carrying a newborn baby in and out of Megan's Denver home. The man's identity is unknown, but it is definitely not Jordan. An eyewitness said, the man seems to be living in Megan's home. He has been in and out at all hours of the day. But wait, there's more evidence. Megan completely disappeared from Instagram for nearly 8 months between late 2024 and mid-2025. Just vanished. No posts, minimal activity, radio silence. Fans immediately started theorizing she was hiding a pregnancy, which at the time seemed like typical fandom speculation. But now, with these photos, that theory is looking pretty solid. The timeline makes sense. Megan purchased her Denver home in June 2024, about 2 months after filming wrapped. If she got pregnant right around that time, that 8-month social media absence lines up almost perfectly with when she'd be visibly pregnant and not wanting to spoil the show's ending. Let's talk about why Megan called off her engagement to Jordan, because it adds another layer to this situation. Jordan explained that Megan cited lifestyle differences and concerns about his 5-year-old son, Luca. Jordan admitted, I was regretful that we brought Megan in, like, oh, this is your stepmom, and then ripped her out of his life. For a 5-year-old, that's not fair. He and Megan apparently made a pact not to go to the altar if they weren't completely certain. So Megan told Jordan she didn't feel cut out to be a mother, specifically didn't want to be a stepmom to his son, and called off their wedding, and then allegedly got pregnant within months and had a baby with someone else. Now, people change their minds about wanting kids, and that's totally valid. But you can see why Jordan might have some feelings about this if it turns out to be true, right? The reunion airs October 29th, literally next week, and we're supposedly getting confirmation about this mystery baby. Nick Lachey asking Megan that specific question about motherhood at the end of the finale? That wasn't random, that was foreshadowing. Production knew exactly what they were doing with that edit. Now that we've covered all the individual scandals, let's zoom out and talk about why this season was such a complete disaster from start to finish. Because it's not just that 0 couples got married, it's everything underneath that number that reveals systemic issues with how this show is produced. First, the casting. Multiple sources noted that producers cast an unusually conservative group for liberal Denver, Colorado. One critic stated, "For such a blue state, they really found the most conservative bunch for season 9. That's not an accident. That's a deliberate choice. Producers sought out people with conflicting values because they knew it would create drama." The problem is that drama came at the expense of actual connections forming. Second, the vetting process, or apparent lack thereof. How does someone like Mike, who allegedly had multiple people claiming he owed them thousands of dollars, make it through casting? How does someone who reportedly went into the pods with a girlfriend already make it on the show? Either Netflix isn't checking backgrounds thoroughly, or they saw these red flags and decided they made for good television anyway. Third, the diversity issues. Patrick's storyline highlighted something important about representation that the show didn't fully explore. He talked about dating as an Asian man in predominantly white spaces and his insecurities about his ethnicity, but the show didn't really give that conversation the depth it deserved. Same with the LGBTQ plus controversy. It became about Nick's apology rather than a broader conversation about acceptance, and the emotional labor that contestants, particularly women, are expected to perform for our entertainment. Madison had to watch Joe potentially have feelings for Kacie. Kacie had to navigate being second choice to Anna. Annie had to deal with her fiance's comments blowing up on social media. These are real people whose reputations and mental health are affected by how they're portrayed. The reunion hasn't aired yet. It's coming October 29th. But we've got enough information to know it's going to be explosive. Based on what cast members have teased, here's what we can expect. First, the baby announcement. Someone's revealing they had a baby with someone who wasn't their Love is Blind partner, and all signs point to Megan. That conversation with Nick Lachey is going to be fascinating, especially if Jordan is sitting right there watching her talk about this new baby when she told him she wasn't cut out for motherhood. Second, the Joe/Kacie/Madison/Avery situation has to come up. Madison and Joe are going to be face-to-face for the first time since their breakup. Does Kacie show up? If she does Avery confront her about allegedly trying to hook up with Joe repeatedly? Does Joe take accountability for his role in this mess, or does he deflect? Third, Nick and Annie need to address the LGBTQ plus controversy. Nick's Instagram apology was one thing, but having to answer questions in front of the entire cast and viewers is different. Are they still together after all that backlash? And more importantly, have they actually done the work to understand why their comments were harmful? Fourth, Patrick and Anna. Did they ever reconnect after the show? Is there closure there, or is it still this unresolved what-if situation? Patrick deserves some closure after being second choice for Kacie, losing Anna, and then watching Kacie allegedly go after Joe immediately afterward. After everything we've discussed, let's play a game. Out of all the messy behavior this season, who do you think is the actual villain of season 9? Is it Nick for his LGBTQ plus comments that perpetuate harmful attitudes about queer identity? Is it Kacie for allegedly playing multiple people, breaking things off with Patrick while telling him she wanted to keep dating, then pursuing Joe, then allegedly continuing to pursue Joe even after he got a girlfriend? Or is it Netflix and the producers for casting people with these red flags, creating situations designed for maximum drama rather than genuine connection, and then profiting off the chaos that ensues? Personally, I think the real villain is a system that rewards this behavior. Every person who does something controversial gets more screen time, more social media followers, more opportunities after the show. We're incentivizing the worst parts of human nature and then acting shocked when people behave badly. So there you have it. Love is Blind Season 9, the season that made history for all the wrong reasons. 0 marriages, multiple scandals, allegations flying everywhere, and a reunion coming up that promises to be absolutely unhinged. The reunion airs October 29th, and you know I'm going to be covering every single revelation, confrontation, and dramatic moment. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, because the tea from that reunion is going to be scalding hot. Drop a comment with your hottest take. Who's your villain? What do you think happens at the reunion? Do you believe Megan has a secret baby, or is that just speculation? And most importantly, should Love is Blind just be canceled at this point, or can they bounce back from this disaster? Hit that like button if you made it all the way through this mess with me. Share this with your fellow reality TV addicts who need all the context, and I'll see you in the next one where we'll be breaking down that reunion the moment it drops. Until then, stay messy, stay informed, and remember, love might be blind, but we're keeping our eyes wide open.